What's up guys, this is Alex, and it's been a while because I was waiting for actually get some hands on the AMD 6000 series H laptop processors. I saw some samples sent to some reviewers, but yeah, there was not a lot. Now that it's actually available, we're actually going to be reviewing this for three purposes. In this first video, I'm going to review this as a gaming laptop because this is how Dell is actually promoting this. So this is the G15 Dell laptop, and I'm going to show the configs and the prices. In the second video, we're going to talk about can that actually run DaVinci Resolve. And in the third video, we're going to actually review this as a machine for my mom, which wants to do some day trading. So it's going to be more of a day trading questions with a big S because they want special features. And well, my mom had really special questions that in my head is clear as night and day, but we're going to demonstrate that it's fine. As usual, timestamps here, timestamps in the comments, and if you want to see the other videos, well, just subscribe and like this video, and thank you very much. So let's just check out how this machine specifically is configured and what are the options. If you want to go left and right, you can go higher with higher components, pay more, and pay a little bit less if you want lower components. So this is specifically an AMD Ryzen 7 6800H 8-core processor, 16 threads. This one has Windows 11 Home, but you can go for Pro for not a lot of money more. 3050 RTX NVIDIA GeForce card, so you can go higher. This one has only 4 GB, so is that going to work for DaVinci? We don't know yet, but you can go as high as 8 GB. So yeah, why not? I will recommend 16 GB for Windows. This comes with Windows 11, so yeah, I would definitely recommend 16. You don't really need more unless you have specifics, but yeah, don't stay with 8. Unless you really just do email and web. If you only do those things, you might be okay with only 8. But anything out of that scope, like gaming, I would go with 16 because you just don't want to keep it a year. You want to keep it a little bit longer. This one has an SSD PCIe version 3, Gen 3 if I remember correctly, 512 GB. This one specifically has the screen, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. This is 250 nits, 15.6 inch. The color is dark shadow gray. There's a light here, so that's why it's actually orange. Let me show you the real color. So this is the real color, but there's a little light here just for dramatic effect. That specific configuration will remove from your wallet approximately 1600 Canadian or 1250 USD. On the sides, on one side, we have two SuperSpeed USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A, which is awesome for mouse or an extension keyboard or a real full keyboard. That would be useful. On the other side, we have a 1 gigabit, so for networking, internet, and of course, a headphone mic jack. So on the back, we have another SuperSpeed USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A. We also have a Gen 1 Type C with DisplayPort alternative mode, which is super useful, and that's what I'm using right now to power, not to power, but to send the screen. This is an actual copy of the screen. You can also extend the desktop. You can just do anything you want, just like an HDMI TV or port. Also HDMI 2.1, and you have of course the power. There is inside a primary battery of 3 cell, 50 watt-hour integrated, so if you need to change it, you have to service it or do it yourself. But yeah, there's a wireless Wi-Fi 6 plus Bluetooth card inside, HD RGB camera, which I'm not sure if I'm gonna test it. 1 year limited warranty, and it weight actually pretty light. How is the case built and the feeling? Well, it's an all plastic. Only plastic everywhere. There's nothing metal, maybe inside, but how much time you can drop it? Good question. At least there's no mechanical hard drive, so that's a plus on the dropping side. The screen itself is pretty bright, and we can compare a little bit with the screen right now. This one is not at full power. This one is at 250 nits. Outside, I tried outside in a clear day. There was a little bit of clouds though, and I had no problem for the luminosity, but the reflection though, you can see here, perfectly clear, you can see. But if I put it in a direction where the lights come in, and let's try to catch my studio light here, and there you go, you can't see a thing. So with the sun directly hitting that, and you in an angle where the sun will go straight to your face with reflection, that's going to be hard. Keyboard and a trackpad are not too bad. I personally don't really like trackpads as a general thing, so I always connect the mouse. But for the keyboard, it's actually very comfortable. Obviously, this is not a full keyboard, of course, but there is a numpad. So you have the numbers if you need them, which is rare in laptops usually. And there's the power button and the G button, which I'll talk a little bit about later. And of course, because it's a gaming machine, well, you have the WASD keys that are a little bit lighter. You can see them more clearly. And one thing that is nice is if you hit the keyboard, it will actually backlit in orange. So that's cool. The only nitpicking thing that I would say about the keyboard is that usually for when you have your typing skills, the F and the J key have a little knob or something to differentiate it, because this is where you're going to put your finger. And in that case, the knob is so small, you can hardly feel it. So I would maybe do that for a future version of Dell. But what about battery life? It's actually pretty good, because the 6000 series of AMD processor for the mobile, they actually tweak a lot of things for power management. So what I did as a test, I just played the MPEG-4 video, just like if you would watch a movie, in a loop continuously. And it took a long time before it would go to 20% of power left. At that time, at the 20%, it went into like an economic mode. So it will reduce a little bit the screen, and I left everything by default. So I didn't touch the power management and everything. And for the rest of the duration, at 5%, it started to shut down Windows. And at that 5% battery lasting, that was 5 hours and 10 minutes. So that's very solid. And after that, to charge it back to 100%, it actually took 2 hours and 40 minutes, more or less. But let's say you are on a go and you want to be fast. It took about an hour and 30 to charge it up to 80%. And here I am testing the HD camera that is included in the screen. So I can, of course, look at the camera or look at my keyboard. You know, the classic, right? With Microsoft Teams and everything. These are studio lights. There's two pointing at me right now. Let's try without one light. And just one light of the studio, just for fun. Here's the result with only one light, studio light. Yeah, seems fine for work environment. Of course, you won't have the shadow depth of field or anything like that, but it's fine. So let's see a little bit of benchmark now. How does that work with gaming? So let's start with the synthetic benchmark. This is 3D Mark. You can compare with your buddies if you want to see who has the most powerful machine. And we can see here that the video on the right, which is the laptop, and you can see the frame per second in that demo. There's like 3 demo in SPY time, and you can see that, of course, the only one I can compare to is my main machine. It's decent, even in 1080p, and you get 30 FPS, but this is a very heavy demo. But let's go to the result and see how it's fair. And the result are in. So obviously the GPU is not comparable. One is a 3090 and the other one is a 3050, so not the same thing. But you can see that actually the CPU is quite near, and that's actually very good for that machine type. And I did the test multiple times just in case to see if it would work. There's also a performance mode, high performance mode. There's the G key, that when you hit it, it's gonna give you power. More power, Scotty. Yeah, and what does that key is going to give you? 2% more. 2% more power in this desk. Is it worth it, 2%? I'm not sure. Maybe if you have headphones, because when you start that mode, it's gonna ramp up the fans at 100%. Let's go, and you can hear it. Let me make you hear what those fans are. So not too bad, and they're not annoying fans, at least not at the start of the life cycle of the laptop. For now, it's not a fan noise very annoying. I would put something else on that key if I could. The machine will adapt itself and it will ramp up the fans if it needs to. All right, let's start with the first game, Rainbow Six Siege. And I'm gonna just show some screenshots of the configuration because I wrote competitive settings. So that's a little bit how big players and very high ranked player will actually configure that game. And basically this game is pretty much CPU intensive. So it will work better with a better CPU instead of a GPU. So you can have a low-end GPU and it's gonna run just fine. So Rainbow Six Siege was released in 2015. It was released with the NVIDIA Next 2.0 engine. Of course, it doesn't have RTX. This is DirectX 11, and the results are in. And you can see clearly that, of course, the laptop will be a little bit lower, but that is fine. And for that game, I mean, 200 FPS and more, it's fine. Even 60 FPS and more should be fine. Next game, Dying Light 2. And I did try on the laptop with DirectX 12 with ray tracing and everything. That was not a good experience, and you can see the demo. It's way choppy, and on the left you see like 18 FPS, 20, sometimes you hit 30 FPS, but yeah, the low end's 13 FPS, and yeah, it's pretty choppy. So on the left you have the PC one. That game was released very recently. It's released in 2022, and it's the C engine, so it's their own proprietary engine. So you can see that the left side is pretty smooth, and this is nature scene. It's the first scene in the game. On the right side it's the low settings, and on the left side for the PC it's full settings. And here are the results in FPS, so 66 FPS average on the laptop. That works. That works. Very playable. Now Control. I think that was one of the first game with ray tracing. Of course, on the laptop with any kind of DirectX 12, it was not working very much because I think you have to enable ray tracing with DirectX 12 compared to DirectX 11, which does not have ray tracing. So now we have the PC Play, and I just want to show a couple of features of ray tracing. Of course, the lights. The lights are bouncing everywhere. They bounce from the ceiling to the floor and to the cloth of the character. You can see here is like a mirror, and it's perfectly mirroring whatever is shining through that mirror. It's not a mirror, but a glass. And that's just small details, but it's exceptional. Exceptional. So we're gonna go now to the laptop version, and basically you can see her clothing is not as shiny as the other version. The lights from everywhere is not necessarily reflecting on a part of her body if the light's coming from one side. There's a few tricks in there, but it's not ray tracing itself. And you can see here that there's kind of no reflection. They will reflect parts, but not everything. And here we go to the same painting. It's just not reflecting, just reflecting global lights, and that's pretty much it. Very good game if you did not play this game. Awesome and beautiful if you have an RTX with ray tracing on it. And here are the results. So kind of acceptable. This was, of course, with the PC full-on ultimate version and settings. So you can tweak a little bit and try to get a little bit closer to 60 FPS. And compared to the low setting, which are still beautiful, the game is still beautiful even on low settings. And the average frame rate was over 60, so that's fine for that game, honestly. All right, here we have Days Gone. There's no also benchmark official software in that, but yeah, I did play a little bit, and you can compare the scenery. So it was released in 2019 with the Unreal Engine 4, and it's still beautiful. That was for PlayStation, by the way. So it went on sale for PC in 2021, so 2 years later. So they had to tweak a few things, and obviously on the PC side, I could not get more than 1080p, so that's the only game I could not play in 1480p. And the results here are pretty amazing, honestly. You can even go lower in settings if you want more FPS on the laptop side. Fine by me, and it's beautiful in every case. Next up, we have Horizon Zero Dawn. An awesome game. If you did not play that game, try it. It's worth it. So that was released in 2020 for the PC or in 2017 for the PlayStation 4. It's made with Decima engine, and that engine is so well done. It's very, very well done. Decima engine was also used for Horizon Zero Dawn version 2. It was also used for Death Stranding, the game from Kojima Production. And you can see it, of course, on the PC side. Obviously, it's more optimized and it's in the full quality version of the game. So on the left side is smooth butter, and on the right side, sometimes there's little jittering, rarely. Also, VSync is not enabled, so that's why sometimes you can see some screen tearing, but basically still with those settings, and I think on the right for the laptop I'll use the original settings, so there's a little bit more popping of texture somewhere. On armor you're gonna see it, or sometimes in the distance it's gonna have a tree pop up or something like that. Even so, that engine got old very well, and it's very well done, and that's a rich game story wise, so it's awesome. Next game, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So that was released in 2020, Anvil Next 2.0 also, just like Rainbow Six Siege, but a more recent version, of course. And that benchmark is awesome because you have actually, so on the right you can see the FPS from the laptop, and on the left I left the monitoring that I use for my FPS, and cool, so you can see both at the same time. You can also switch up and down with the CPU and the GPU, and they were pretty much on point with what my monitoring software was saying. Of course, the highest quality setting will give you way more quality, way more beautifulness, and the other one, it's actually very, very playable. So as long as you have an average frame rate of 60 and more, you're good to go, man. So here are the results from the benchmark of the game. It's actually pretty revealing. So you can actually see where there's some dips and everything. So pretty cool presentation. I like when games do that. And you actually see how much memory your GPU was loaded at. So you can actually add and remove things in the settings or the graphic settings if you want to tweak it a little bit. So yeah, let's go for that. Last game, Cyberpunk 2077. That game kind of, well, people talked about it, right? Especially people bought it on PlayStation, but here on the, on the laptop, no problem. I think on the PC, I put everything on ultra and the highest settings, and on the right, I think it was the highest setting, the quick preset settings. And here we're gonna see reflection. And I'm going to pause here and I'm going to show you the difference in RTX quality, what it gives. And here on the PC, you can actually see on the left the reflection of the buildings that are on the left and hidden. And on the right, you don't really see things. You just see like the mapping of the light. Yeah, when you have no ray tracing, you don't have all that beautifulness, but that's fine. The game is still beautiful. It's just those little tweaks, you know, here and there, and reflection in the windows, like you saw with the control. They emulate the light in different ways. They have those little tricks and everything. Same things here for the palm tree. The light will not go through or bounce back. If you see the tree here, it's all cute and boom, like it's all dark, the middle one, so the light won't bounce the same way, but it's still very good. And this one also has, of course, all the settings that is displayed to you at the end, so you can tweak it a little bit more. Conclusion, is this an actually good gaming computer? Well, it's not a high-end computer, and you're not paying a ludicrous price on it like $3,000 or $2,000. Yeah, for playing games not at their highest setting, unless, like you saw that the game has a few years back, unless that, you'll be able to play all the other games either at medium or low settings. And if the engine is good, it's gonna be quality gaming. And for all the other case, like DaVinci Resolve and of course day trading, well, you have to subscribe and see the other videos. Until then, guys, take care and see you in the next video. And thanks for watching, guys. Thank you, guys.